What's up, roll coverage? Chris Tabor got to the podium this Thursday, right ahead of our game with the Saints. This is a full breakdown. We do them on the regular. No more delay, though. Let's get to it.
Hey, I thought it was all over.
And here comes my favorite Woody Harrelson lookalike, Mr. Tabor, up to the podium. Let's hear what you got to say, boss.
Okay, just wrapped up practice, like where we're at. Finish tomorrow and then head down and play a really good football team. So, any questions?
In case you guys don't know, we're doing breakdowns of all the teams in the South, including the Falcons, Saints, and Bucks. Of course, our Carolina Panthers. So go check those out, including ones with Arthur Finch, their conference calls and everything. Stay up to date on our opponents right here on Roll Coverage.
Gladly answer them.
What do you do with that interior D-tackle spot with Deshaun in?
I think we'll be in good shape there. We got a lot of options that we can play right there, and I feel comfortable with what we got.
Chris, you guys have brought in Gabe Jackson the other week. Justin had been here, went away, came back. When you're dealing with older players like that, what do they have to do to keep themselves ready during the time when they're away?
Obviously, the in-shape factor, just being in shape. Then when they come back, a guy might be in shape. Then you have to determine what's his football shape. And obviously practice will give you those answers there. And then how fast can they pick things up? Obviously an older veteran, they've probably played in a lot of different offenses, so they're able to probably recall, things from another offense that they can translate into what our offense is. So I think we're in good shape there with guys coming and going and guys being ready to play.
Good, man. This is what I want to hear. He is giving very generic answers right now, but again, second game as interim. There's obviously still dealing with the fallout of the Hunger Games report on The Athletic, written by Diana Rossini and Joe Person. So shout out to them for that. I think that's really shaking up the organization at all levels. Chris is obviously hearing about it behind the scenes, wanting to figure out more information and everything like that. So, I agree with what he said, though, about the veterans. I think that this is something that a lot of teams don't understand. I would absolutely be on board with our team going after more older players rather than us holding, a seventh-round wide receiver. I'd rather us just go and get a 35, 36-year-old Julio Jones for a year. He might be able to make a little bit more of an impact than, say, for example, a rookie could, or somebody that just has been just a retread of a retread. So that's just my thoughts on that. I think we should absolutely, in Carolina, be a haven for people to just come, spend their last few years in retirement. We'll throw a bag at you. Let's go. Let's win some games, man. Let's win some goddamn games.
With those two guys in particular, are you confident in them that if they need to go Sunday, you're good with that? Obviously, Justin started last week.
Yeah, 100%. We'd be perfectly fine with those guys playing in there and helping us, giving us a chance to win.
Are you able to say whether Justin and Nash are starting again in there?
Yeah, it's going to be the same setup that we had, so play it.
Yeah. A couple weeks ago, and 12-man personnel on offense has been something that y'all have experimented with, tried with. With the tight end room being a little beat up, how does that affect your offense?
I would say
Valid question, man. Whoever made that, if I missed your name, I'm so sorry, but great question.
I think we're in good shape there. Actually, I understand your question with regards to being beat up, the tight end, the room itself. But actually, this week I think we're in a better spot than what we were a week ago. Obviously, last week we only had Soley and Ian up. Tommy's had a nice week of practice, so I feel good about that position group.
Chris, on tight ends, Hayden and his dad put some information out this week. I understand you weren't the head coach at the time, but do you know why Hayden was allowed to go back in that game in Chicago?
No, I do not. I know he's in the concussion protocol and going through the steps right now and is on his way back.
Are you kind of in communication with the training staff about his situation?
Does he look like Woody Harrelson or Mark Davis or both? just keep looking at him, and I'm like, oh, is this if it wasn't for the Carolina blue in the back.
Oh, 100%. I mean, I talked to the training staff about all injuries, and his injury is no different.
Do you feel like he's heading in a good direction, or are you kind of still?
No, I think he's headed in a good direction. I think you're always going to be extremely cautious in those areas with that injury, and I think that's what we're doing, going through the protocol steps, and when he comes back, we'll obviously be excited about it.
Yeah, and the history so far is that if you go into concussion protocol, you're most likely not coming out in the same week. So I'm really not, until they confirm that he's going to be back, he might be one of the first people that have done it. Somebody's going to find some statistics. Shout out Two Growls Run Roar. That man can find anything, it looks like. So if anybody has that information, drop it down in the comments. I'd be really interested to know how many people come back then next week. Sorry. Ooh.
Could he play next week? Could he play?
I couldn't tell you that. I would never, those injuries like that, I would never guess when guys are coming back.
Chris, Adam Thielen's number's been down the last couple of weeks. How much of that is a function of what people are trying to do to take him away from Bryce as kind of that safe outlet?
Well, I think that has a lot to do with it. He's obviously a really good football player. He's having a heck of a year. People know where he's at, and I think what you see now is other guys need to continue to step up. Mingo making some plays. Shark made a nice play last week. So those guys should be excited for their opportunity.
Still have no confirmation on that. Is it Shark, like charge, or is it Shark, like the fin thing? So still don't know that answer.
Ball comes their way because of what's going on with Adam.
Specifically on Jonathan Mingo, how do you get him in the end zone? Obviously the priority is to score points, you know what I'm saying, but
yeah.
How, is it more of a priority to get him the ball in the red zone and get him a score, get him?
I think it's probably a priority for anybody to get in the end zone, not to kind of specifically talk about one guy, because sometimes when you're looking at one guy, it frees somebody else up, and whoever has the opportunity to make a play down there need to make a play.
I asked you about this earlier in the week.
Press conference, very few jovial, happy moments, just more of a smirk and stuff like that. He seems very dialed in right now. I'm going to give him that, dialed in.
But any additional thoughts on who you're going to face behind center for them?
No.
It's going to be Jameis Winston. I'd be willing to put money on it. If Derek Carr goes out there, he'll be out of the game in a quarter or two. So, no, it's going to be Jameis Winston. They're game planning for Jameis Winston regardless of what they want to say.
I think, I haven't seen their injury report yet today. But, when you prepare for both guys, at the same time, really, you're preparing for their offense because of all the weapons that they have, regardless of who the trigger guy is. Got a lot of respect. Got a lot of respect for both of them. But we'll have to wait and see.
You guys have had silent count stuff most of the year, including at one of the home games. What do you feel like you're pretty well prepared for that aspect?
No, I think we are. That's it's a stadium that a lot of people are jumping off sides there. Our guys are doing a nice job. We haven't had any delay games. I think we're getting in a rhythm. That's going to be critical down there because we've got to stay ahead of the chains to give ourselves a chance.
What was your take last night on the punt where the snapper lifted his head?
I think the league is all officials are very aware of that. He was a little abrupt. I'm not going to lie. I watched it today on tape. I was already asleep, to be honest with you. But yes, and I need to get some sleep. But I will say, officials, if it's 4th and 5 or less, they're zeroing in a little bit more with the team with the ball as opposed to the defense. So when he lifted his head up there, a little abrupt. I've seen worse, but that's kind of how things are being officiated right now. Officials understand what's going on. I will say this about officials: they're with regards to game management and those things, they're very sharp about what's going on within the game and understanding the tricks of the trade. They do a nice job in that area.
I'm going to give massive pushback there. I'm not going to spend really a whole lot of time, but NFL officiating is really bad. They need to have more of an eye. They need to have more oversight. They need to have somebody be able to call down from New York real quick, and they need to be involved in absolutely every game. It's ridiculous that we get so many blown calls and all this other stuff, and that they just try and correct it afterwards. That's not the way to do it. It needs to be corrected on the field the first time. It's 2023. You get the feed just as fast as everybody else. We should not have to worry about this at this late stage in the game. Like, this is ridiculous, and the officiating needs to step up.
You mentioned it for previously, but what it makes it so difficult? What is it about the Superdome that makes it so difficult to play there? Or is it difficult to play there in your experience?
It is. In all my years in the league, I've only been there 2 times. So it's still kind of a brand new stadium to me, but it does get very loud, and it's obviously a great home environment for them. And really, we just have to circle the wagons and stick together. And if something negative happens, we just have to kind of regroup and keep moving forward. So that's kind of the plan.
Where would you rank that place in terms of loudness?
Top 5. I'll give them top 5.
It's loud. I mean, it is. I mean, there's so many loud stadiums that you can talk about. You know, I think it also depends what kind of game is it. You know, and what your team like, and those things. I think those are all collective factors. But I think it's definitely a place that we got to be zeroed in. And it's going to be a tough place to hear. Our communication has to be on point, not only in the huddle but on the sideline. You know, game adjustments out on the field will be critical.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Shout out Mr. Tabor. Thank you for giving time to the press. I appreciate y'all coming to this breakdown. I'm going to give this one a B-. I thought he was fine. Actually, you know what? C+. C+. It was B-, C+. It's going to be a C+. He didn't give me anything to instill confidence in the upcoming game. He didn't give away a game plan, of course, or really any hints to anything other than just, you know, people need to make plays. It was all kind of just very generic coach speak, and that's understandable right now. He's just trying to keep the team together. We're just trying to move forwards. But at the same time, man, we need something. We need a push. We need somebody with some fire. To be honest, I think that person is Thomas Brown. He needs to be more fiery in his press conferences because he is so expressive with his face, whereas Chris is the laughing guy, and then it seems like Evero is more of the stoic, I'm going to give you direct answers. I'm going to be a very active listener kind of thing. So I think they all add something to it. But, man, we need Thomas Brown out there to really tell us how it is. Regardless, like I said, C+, breakdowns on the regular, including for the Falcons, Bucks, and Falcons now. So check it out right here on Roll Coverage. Have a great rest of your day. Peace.